All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome. Thank you for joining us for the sixth edition of the Layer 10 Live Masterclass. I hope everybody can hear me. Please give me a thumbs up if you can. If you can see my mouth moving but not hear anything coming out, then give me some other sign in the comments. But if you can hear me, if I'm coming through, please give me a thumbs up and we'll get started. Okay. All right. Excellent. All right, we can. Let's get started then. So, thank you again for joining us. This is the sixth edition of the Layer 10 Live Masterclass. And whether you're tuning in for the first time or you've been part of this journey from the beginning, I want to affirm something you likely already know. The way we've been planning, designing, and delivering technology in our built spaces is broken. You've heard me say it before. It's not just broken, it's massively broken. And if you're here today, whether you're a developer, an architect, a contractor, an owner, or a facilities leader, you've likely seen it firsthand. Technology is no longer just an afterthought. It's not a checklist at the end of the project. It's the very foundation of the user experience, and it's changing everything. Yet, most of the commercial real estate world is still playing catch up, making it up as they go, getting burned by overpromises, rework, or technology that simply doesn't deliver. That's why we created Layer 10 and launched the Layer 10 Academy, to give professionals like you a clear, human-focused, future-ready way to lead through this transformation. And now, right now, we are standing on the edge of something even bigger. AI is not just another emerging trend. It is the most powerful force reshaping our industry since the invention of HVAC or the elevator. It is poised to change everything. Not too long ago, Eric Schmidt, the former CEO of Google, testified before Congress with a message that was surprising for most people. He said, AI is underhyped. Let that sink in. Underhyped. As much as we have heard about it, the former CEO of Google believes not enough is being said. This isn't coming from a startup founder pitching a new product or a futurist on a TED stage trying to earn views. This is one of the most influential technology leaders in modern history telling us that we're not even close to understanding what's about to happen. And I couldn't agree with him more. The integration of AI into the built environment isn't just about optimization or automation. It's about something far more transformative. Buildings that think, environments that learn and respond, spaces that evolve with us, not just around us. Today, we're going to explore what that means and, more importantly, what it requires of us as leaders. By the end of this masterclass, you'll walk away with a fresh understanding of what's possible and a framework to help you lead the way. Welcome to AI, the built world, designing spaces that think. Let's begin with why we're here, and more specifically, why now? Since our last masterclass, the pace of this changing landscape has only accelerated. AI isn't theoretical anymore. It's not just showing up in tech blogs or pilot programs. It's being actively adopted across the CRE lifecycle in design software, building automation, leasing platforms, security systems, and tenant engagement tools, just to name a few. What was once seen as experimental is quickly becoming essential. We're watching AI shift from novelty to necessity, not because it's trendy, but because it's delivering real business value, speed, precision, and personalization at scale. And as a result, the expectations of our stakeholders, investors, tenants, even regulators are changing. Connectivity is no longer enough. The bar has moved. The new expectation is cognition. Systems that don't just connect, but understand, learn, and adapt. That's the shift, and we can't look away. This is no longer a conversation reserved for the IT team or the innovation lab. AI is moving upstream into the capital stack. Lenders, investors, and partners are starting to ask, how intelligent is this asset? How will it perform when things get uncertain? Is it designed for adaptability? We're seeing leasing models change based on digital experience, valuations shift based on operational intelligence, ESG outcomes influenced by AI driven energy modeling and occupant insights. In other words, this isn't just a tech story, it's a business story. And those who sit on the sidelines risk becoming irrelevant. This is a moment of reckoning for CRE leaders. You can't afford to wait for this to become the standard. You lead or you follow. If you follow, you fall behind. Now, you have to build on a solid, proven foundation. And if you've been with us through our earlier classes, you're familiar with our DSDS framework. That framework brought clarity to what often feels like chaos in tech planning: design, select, deploy, support. And it works. It's the solid foundation this is built upon. But AI introduces new questions. What is the intent behind the tech we're specifying? How do we design systems that learn, not just function? What data needs to be captured, not just for now, but for a future we can't fully see? This isn't a rejection of what we've built, it's an evolution. This is the bold next step. We're standing on a solid foundation, but now we need to build smarter, more adaptive, more human-centered structures on top of it. Now, let me take a moment here to introduce myself, especially for those of you who are joining us for the first time. My name is Ken Wilkinson. I'm the founder and CEO of Layer 10. Over the past decade, I've had the privilege of working with some of the most forward-thinking developers, architects, and operators in the country, helping them bridge the gap between technology strategy and human experience. I created the Layer 10 framework and launched the Layer 10 Academy to give CRE professionals a new lens for thinking about tech in the built environment, one that leads with design, centers on the human experience, and delivers with clarity. Outside of Layer 10, I also serve alongside my wife, Zara, as co-board president of Trailhead Community, a nonprofit creating inclusive housing for adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. It's a mission that's close to our hearts and a reminder that great design isn't just smart, it's compassionate. And I'm also currently working on my first book, Bricks to Brilliance: Designing Buildings That Think. It captures the core of what we're exploring today, how we move from smart to truly intelligent spaces. But above all, here's what I want you to know. I'm here because I believe we can do better. We can design buildings that don't just function, but that think, respond, and enhance the human experience. That's what drives me, and that's why we're here today. Let's talk about where we've been and where we're going. For years, smart buildings were the goal, but let's be honest, the term got tossed around a lot without much clarity about exactly what it means to be smart. In the old world, what we considered smart were dashboards and devices, lots of sensors, lots of data, but not a lot of actual intelligence. Systems were fragmented. Decision makers were overwhelmed with information, but still had to figure out how to manually act on it. The smart often stopped at connectivity. But something is changing, and fast. AI is moving us beyond just connectivity. Now we can design spaces that actually think, environments that sense, adapt, and learn in real time. Systems that don't just alert, they act. In this new world, buildings aren't just wired, they're aware. They respond to occupancy, predict maintenance needs, and personalize experiences. Data becomes orchestration, not just observation. And every decision is made with the human in mind. This is more than just an upgrade, it's a redefinition. We're moving away from smart to cognitive. And that's why at Layer 10, we say design for cognition, not just connectivity. And if we're serious about creating cognitive environments, not just smart ones, we need a structure, a framework. And that's where these 5 pillars come in. These represent the full life cycle of the built environment, from concept to operations to capital investment, and how AI can meaningfully transform each phase. The first pillar is design smarter. As always, it starts with design. AI-enhanced planning tools, simulation engines, even generative design models. They allow us to test and refine decisions before we ever break ground. Design becomes proactive instead of reactive, and smarter design reduces downstream chaos. In Pillar 2, we build faster and safer. In construction, AI can reduce waste, improve scheduling, and increase safety, all of which improve timelines and bottom lines. Whether it's drone-based site analysis or predictive modeling for supply chains, this is where we save time, reduce risk, and protect margins. Pillar 3 is about operations. Operate intelligently. Once a building goes live, operations is where the value either compounds or erodes. AI-powered systems can predict failures, optimize HVAC dynamically in real time, and surface insights that would otherwise stay buried in dashboards. We move from reacting to anticipating. Pillar 4 is about elevating the experience. The building isn't just a system, it's a space where people live, work, and play in. AI lets us personalize that experience. Think occupancy-based lighting, temperature tuned to individual preferences, or adaptive access control. Every interaction becomes intentional. Finally, Pillar 5, invest strategically. This is the capital layer. Portfolio managers and developers can use AI to forecast ROI, model scenarios, and identify patterns across assets. This is where long-term value is created or lost. AI helps to ensure it's the former. Together, these 5 pillars form a new playbook, a future-ready approach to planning, building, operating, and investing in real estate. And if you're only addressing 1 or 2 of these pillars, you're leaving massive value on the table. These are the 5 keys to the future of the built environment. Let's dive into more detail for each of them. Let's begin on Pillar 1, where every project should begin with design. Design is not just about aesthetics or space planning anymore. It's where we set the trajectory for every downstream decision about technology, operations, and ultimately the human experience. Design Smarter is about integrating artificial intelligence at the earliest stages of planning, when decisions are cheap to make and expensive to fix later. We've been saying for years that most smart building problems aren't technology problems. They're planning problems. They're process problems. And AI is giving us tools to solve them with unprecedented clarity and speed. A great example of this is SpaceMaker AI. SpaceMaker uses generative design to analyze hundreds of site and massing configurations in minutes. It considers factors like sun exposure, noise, wind patterns, and zoning regulations, then recommends optimized solutions that balance density, livability, and environmental impact. What used to take weeks of manual modeling and guesswork can now be done in hours. It's not just faster, it's better. This is a game changer for design professionals, evidenced by the acquisition of SpaceMaker by Autodesk not that long ago. And with tools like this, you're no longer designing from scratch, you're designing with intelligence. Now, here's where things often go wrong. Some common mistakes include tech vendors getting involved after the design is logged, the tech scope being written in isolation from the architectural vision, or worse, tech is value engineered out altogether because no one mapped the ROI up front. When you're value engineered out, it's a planning failure, not a budget issue. At Layer 10, we've developed the DSDS framework to bring tech into the conversation from the start. But now, with AI in the mix, we're seeing a new layer of capability. Generative design, spatial simulations, even early stage energy and occupancy modeling. Design smarter doesn't mean doing more, it means doing it earlier and doing it with better information. So if you're still designing buildings the way you always have, without AI, without systems thinking, without experience strategy, without even giving IT a seat at the design table, you're already behind. But the good news is there is a better way, and it starts with pillar one, design smarter. This is where intelligence begins. Now let's talk about the build phase, where all the planning becomes action. This is where budgets can slip, timelines stretch, and safety issues emerge. And it's the next area where AI is starting to change the game. Pillar two, build faster and safer, is all about using artificial intelligence to speed up construction timelines, reduce costly delays, and create safer job sites. This isn't about replacing people with machines, although there will be some of that over time. What we're talking about right now is giving crews, foremen, and project managers the data and foresight they need to stay ahead. Let me give you a few examples. There's a company called Build AI, B-I-L-D, no you, B-I-L-D AI, and it is in the business of automating blueprint analysis. The tool scans plans, identifies potential conflicts, and generates far more accurate material and labor estimates, all before boots hit the ground. This results in fewer surprises, better cost control, and faster starts. Then there's Shawmut Design and Construction, Shawmut, Shawmut Design and Construction. They've implemented an AI-powered GPS and computer vision system to proactively monitor safety risk at their sites. The system can flag patterns that correlate with incidents and help prevent them before they happen. They're reporting over 30,000 workers protected using this approach so far. We're also seeing real-time monitoring with computer vision, cameras on site that intelligently identifies, flags somebody who isn't wearing their PPE, enters a restricted area, or overloads equipment. And these alerts can go directly to the site super in real time. And these are just a few basic examples of the power of AI. You can hopefully imagine from here what this means for the future of site safety. And a safer site is a more efficient site. And you save on all those broken timelines and delays that often hit the job site. By leveraging artificial intelligence, you can sequence work more efficiently. You can monitor performance in real time and respond as conditions change. So what does this mean for our builders? It means fewer delays, fewer injuries, more predictable outcomes. It means speed and safety. AI isn't a gimmick. It's becoming essential infrastructure for forward-thinking builders. And this is the shift we're talking about today, from static plans to adaptive execution, from hard hats and hunches to hard data and actionable insight. This is pillar two, build faster, build safer, and let AI carry some of the load. So now let's talk about what happens after the ribbon is cut. The truth is, once a building goes live, that's not the finish line. It's the starting line. Pillar three is where the magic of intelligence as a service truly comes to life. We call it operate intelligently. We're building shift from reactive systems to self-optimizing environments. This isn't about flashy dashboards anymore. It's about autonomy, systems that anticipate, respond, and adjust without a human having to press a button. What's changing? We're moving away from lagging indicators, alerts that come after something breaks. Instead, AI-enabled systems are stepping in with real-time optimization. HVAC that forecasts and adjusts before the thermostat dips and occupants complain. Lighting and access control that respond to occupant behavior. Equipment that tells you when it's starting to degrade, not when it dies. AI is transforming data into automated action. It's not just smart, it's proactive. A great example of this is BrainBox AI. At 45 Broadway in Manhattan, they layered AI forecasting onto building data, temperature, humidity, occupancy, and optimized the HVAC automatically. Now, what most buildings are set up to do is on a schedule. This no longer requires the human intervention. The results reporting 15.8% energy reduction, which is a big number and equates to over $42,000 saved annually, and nearly 37 metric tons of CO2 avoided each year. This is what can be done with AI. This is what intelligent operation looks like in the real world. Another major frontier is building-wide predictive maintenance. According to Deloitte, AI models are already extending asset lifespans and cutting operational costs by predicting equipment failures before they happen. We've been talking about this for years, but it's no longer theoretical. It's happening now. We're talking about facilities that run smoother, safer, and cheaper simply by letting AI do the watching. Now, as powerful as this is, there are still some common traps, and here are three of the most common. One, waiting for failure instead of planning for it. Predictive beats reactive every time. Two, siloed systems. HVAC, lighting, security, they must all work together, not apart. And three, bolting AI onto legacy systems without a cohesive plan. AI is not a plug and play panacea. It can't do its job if it's working blind. And the data is compelling. We're looking at 30 to 40% energy savings, major reductions in equipment downtime, and smarter, smoother building operations with less human intervention. This is where intelligence as a service proves its value. This is a building that doesn't just tell you what's wrong, it fixes it before it becomes a problem. Pillar 3, operate intelligently, is the heartbeat of a cognitive building. It's about creating systems that continually learn, adapt, and evolve, not just for efficiency, but for resilience and responsiveness. Pillar 3 is where your building starts to think on its own. Now let's talk about what all this technology is ultimately for, because it's not about the gear. It's not even about the data. Pillar 4 is where it all comes together, elevating the human experience. As building operators and developers, we've all seen the difference between a space that just functions and one that feels right. When it happens, it isn't luck, it's intentional design. And with AI, we now have the tools to take that to a whole new level. AI gives us the ability to elevate spaces from passive infrastructure to responsive, even anticipatory, dynamically controlled environments. This means buildings that adjust temperature and lighting before someone even realizes they're uncomfortable, offers personalized wayfinding or concierge services, shifts mood and ambiance based on usage patterns or occupant preferences. And this isn't just conceptual. We're already seeing real-world applications in ultra-luxury hospitality, high-end office, even luxury multifamily developments. Environments that can detect user intent and adapt accordingly. That's what people remember. That's what creates exceptional experiences. And that's what creates differentiation and loyalty. Personalization equals retention. Imagine this hotel scenario. A returning guest is welcomed by name as he approaches the check-in kiosk. The room is preset to their preferred temperature, lighting, even their favorite TV program, perfectly welcoming them to their home away from home. And those streaming services, they're already logged into their personal channels. Even wellness settings like circadian lighting adjusted to their abnormal travel itinerary. And their alarm is already set in time for their favorite workout program on the property. In other words, the room predicts the wants and the needs of the traveler based on predefined preferences, patterns, and understanding of the bigger picture. What used to be called science fiction is now called competitive advantage. And this is especially true for luxury markets. When we reduce friction, we amplify fruition. AI can help us eliminate friction in everyday interactions, hands-free access control, voice-controlled room systems, and real-time service requests through mobile or kiosk. And these aren't just features, they're feelings. That's what people are buying: convenience, comfort, and control. Finally, pillar 4 is about continuity. Whether someone is in the lobby, in the elevator, the conference center, or relaxing in their room, their experience travels with them. AI helps unify the digital and physical layers so that transitions feel effortless. This is where the mantra, design for cognition, not just connectivity, really comes to life. We're not just designing for access to information, we're designing for how humans experience the space. And AI, when thoughtfully applied, makes those experiences richer, more natural, and more intuitive. Now, so far, we've talked about design, construction, operations, and experience. But now let's zoom out and talk about what drives all of it: capital. Our fifth pillar, invest strategically, is about using AI to make smarter, sharper, and more future-ready investment decisions. Whether you're managing one building or an entire portfolio, the stakes are high. Every dollar you allocate to systems, to infrastructure, to tenant experience has to pull its weight. And the good news, AI can help make sure it does. Imagine being able to forecast ROI not just on cost and comps, but on how tenants will actually use the space. Adjust capital plans in real time based on demand trends, energy costs, or behavioral data. Model tenant churn before it happens and make proactive changes to retain them. These aren't theoretical ideas. Brookfield, for example, is already piloting platforms that do this across their global portfolio. It's helping them to decide where to invest, where to optimize, and where to exit with clarity. AI gives you the power to think beyond first cost and look at total lifecycle value. This means making decisions at the design phase that reduce long-term operating costs down the road, understanding tenant behavior, and prioritizing upgrades that generate tenant stickiness, not just tax incentives. Using real-time building intelligence to inform your next acquisition. Every choice you make earlier in the process, especially around technology, has ripple effects down the line. Pillar 5 helps you see and model those effects. Now, I want to take a few minutes and think about some of the biggest mistakes we see. The first is treating AI as a project expense instead of a portfolio strategy. It's not just another tool in the tech stack. AI is a way of seeing and steering your investments. When applied correctly, it becomes a force multiplier for revenue growth, risk mitigation, operational efficiency, asset value creation. Another misstep is focusing only on cost cutting. AI should absolutely help reduce inefficiency, no question about it. But the real power is on unlocking new value, not just trimming the fat. Focus on capitalizing on opportunities rather than reducing costs. One final thought here as we wrap up our conversation about the 5 pillars. Pillar 5 is the one your CFO is going to love the most. It connects everything we've talked about from design to operations and brings us back to the most important consideration for long-term viability: financial performance. This is the strategic edge AI offers: more informed decisions, better experiences, smarter capital. This is what it means to invest strategically. Now let's step back and get honest about the current state of technology in our buildings. Introducing intelligence as a service. We don't need more dashboards. We don't need more disconnected sensors. What we need is actual intelligence, contextual, useful, real-time decision-making embedded into how the building works. Not information, insight. Not just alerts, action. So what is intelligence as a service? It's not a product. It's not a platform. It's not some shiny dashboard you log into once and forget. Intelligence as a service, or IaaS, is a strategic layer of cognition that lives across the life cycle of your building. From design through operation, it becomes a living system that learns from your space, adapts to your occupants, and aligns with your operational goals. Intelligence as a service is a capability, not a feature. And let me be clear, we're not offering another SaaS subscription. This is not a bolt-on app. And it's definitely not a repackaged analytics tool dressed up to be smart. What we're talking about is designing cognition into the building itself so it can sense, learn, and respond continuously. These are the 3 core attributes that make IaaS work. Contextual. No two buildings are alike. No two users behave the same. IaaS is tailored. It knows the difference between a hospital, a hotel, and a headquarters, and it acts accordingly. It delivers intelligence that's rooted in context, physical space, human behavior, system performance. It's continuous. This isn't a one-time configuration, set it and forget it. IaaS is dynamic. It learns over time, adapting to new usage patterns, shifting demand, and changing environmental conditions. That's the difference between automation and intelligence. One follows rules, the other evolves. And connected. The true power of intelligence comes from the integration. Lighting, HVAC, access control, energy systems, all feeding into a unified decision engine. Not fragmented inputs, but orchestrated outcomes. This is where point solutions become ecosystems. And here's the big idea. We believe intelligence should be built into the very fabric of the environment, not bolted on afterward. That's the essence of intelligence as a service, because intelligence isn't something you buy, it's something you design for, deliver through, and grow into. So let's talk about where you go from here. First, apply the framework. We've covered a lot today. The 5 pillars: design smarter, build faster and safer, operate intelligently, elevate the experience, and invest strategically. These aren't buzzwords. These give you a clear structure for aligning your entire project lifecycle with AI-enabled strategy. Whether you're in concept design, schematic, or already under construction, it's not too late to get aligned. Second, lead the shift. You're not waiting for someone else to define the standards, because by the time that happens, the leaders will already be way out in front. That's the space you want to be in. Those are the crystal blue waters you want to swim in, not the bloody shark-infested waters that occur after everyone else gets there. The truth is, AI isn't coming, AI is here. And as Eric Schmidt testified before Congress, it's underhyped. The most strategic developers, architects, and owners are already embedding it into their decision-making. This is a leadership moment, not for the crowd followers, but for the forward thinkers. So third, be an early adopter. The risk of being too late is far greater than being too early. We're building something here, a new mindset, a new movement around AI in the built world. It's rooted in human experience, enabled by intelligent systems, and led by professionals like you who are ready to push past the status quo. If today resonated with you, this is your invitation to join us. We're looking for partners, early adopters, and change agents who want to design, build, and operate more efficiently. Everybody is talking about AI in the built environment. Be the one doing something about it. Commercial real estate design is not a theoretical game. It's an action game. It's a real game. Take action. Lead the shift. So let's close with this. AI isn't coming someday. It's already shaping the built environment today. But here's the thing most leaders miss. AI won't drive outcomes unless you intentionally design it with your project from the start. And that's where layer 10 comes in. If you're in the early stages of a project or even planning your next one, now is the moment to bring AI into the conversation. Not through hype or speculation, but through a strategic lens rooted in design, user experience, and long-term value. We've opened up slots for a few AI readiness sessions, a focused one-on-one consultation to evaluate how your current or upcoming project stacks up against the framework we just covered. We'll identify where AI can drive the most value, where you might be exposed to risk, and what next steps make sense for your goals. This is a zero pressure conversation. It's about clarity and leadership and moving this movement forward. It's not a sales pitch. And I will also give you a heads up. There's more to come. We're working on a brand new AI Foundations course, tailored for developers, architects, and CRE operators. If you want to build your team's understanding or just be first in line when this new course drops, let me know after the session. I'll make sure that you are on the early access list. Now, I'll leave the link and the QR code up while you guys get logged in and schedule your strategy session. And while you do that, I will address some questions. Okay. First question. How do I know AI is worth the investment on my project? Okay, that's a fair question. Well, the ROI on AI isn't always about flashy automation or cutting edge tech. It's about reducing friction, eliminating rework, streamlining operations, and ultimately, most importantly, enhancing the user experience. Everything comes back to that. And when it's done correctly, AI pays for itself by improving insights, tenant satisfaction, and long-term asset value. The key is knowing where to apply it, not just shotgun applying it everywhere and hoping that something sticks that makes a difference. You have to be intentional with everything we do. And if you've been on a previous session, you've heard us say this before. It's about intentionality. It's about building that ROI. It's about making sure for every investment you make in technology, AI included, there's a well-defined why you are doing it. You start with that why, not start with AI. Oh, that was good. I like the rhyme. Okay, next question. My team isn't technical. How are we supposed to implement this? Okay, you don't need to be technical to lead intelligently. And look at it from the other way around. The best technicians don't always make the best leaders. The best hammer swingers on the job don't always make the best foremen. And frankly, that's where Layer 10 comes in. That's why we offer our strategy first support. Our framework is designed to help non-technical stakeholders ask the right questions, align their subs, and make decisions with confidence. You wouldn't ask your plumber to lead your mechanical. You wouldn't ask landscape to design your interiors. So why are you leaving technology, let alone AI, to anyone other than the experts? With our framework, you stay in the driver's seat. We just give you the roadmap and lead you along the way. Okay. Isn't it a little too early to jump in on AI? I don't want to be a guinea pig. Well, no. AI in commercial real estate is already here. You're just not seeing it called out, labeled, maybe talked about as much as you're seeing it talked about hearing it talked about in other areas. But predictive maintenance, generative planning tools, personalization algorithms, these are all forms of AI. And frankly, all right, I'm going to be perfectly honest here. If you are still of that mindset, if you think it's too early to get in, if your strategy is to sit and wait and see if this whole AI thing is all it's hyped up to be, you are now the risk. That is the sort of mindset that's going to get you in trouble. I'm sorry to say it, but you're going to be the business that was last to embrace the internet, the organization that kept everything running their business on paper when their competitors were purchasing IBM mainframes. You're going to be the last buggy whip manufacturer on a street filled with auto mechanics. And personally, I think the risk of avoiding AI, of being late to the game, is exponentially greater than any of these single sea change events that we've ever seen in industry. It's all three of those in one. And you might throw the printing press and the spoken word in there as well to even come close to understanding the magnitude of the change as before us with artificial intelligence. The risk isn't being too early, it's being too late and having to retrofit when the market standard changes and then trying to play catch up. Leaders don't wait, leaders act. Okay, I soapbox there a little bit. Let me take a sip of coffee. Okay. Next question. How does this differ from what our MEP, integrator, or architect is already doing? Well, whatever it is that your subs are doing now, um, whatever they have adopted, and let's say they're really on the forefront of this movement, odds are they're doing it just in their slice, just focused on their slice. MEP is working on infrastructure, integrators on systems, architects on design. Our job is to make sure those pieces connect strategically with AI layered across all of them to drive real value. We sit at the center of the conversation, bridging gaps, aligning stakeholders, aligning technologies, and making sure your asset is future ready from day one, meaning it's ready to adapt to whatever is next to come down the line from a technology perspective. Okay, next question. This is a good one. Can smaller or mid, well, they're all good questions, but this one, can smaller or mid-market projects afford this? Well, I don't think that AI means it doesn't have to, it doesn't require a massive budget. In fact, some of the most valuable use cases like space utilization modeling, automated QA checks, or predictive maintenance, these are cost-saving tools. But I'm not going to sugarcoat it either. There is a cost to this, and one that you've likely not budgeted for. But I'll tell you something else you haven't budgeted for: the costs of bad decisions, of change orders, or poor tenant retention. Smart use of AI is often more about planning than spending. It's starting with the end in mind, understanding what you're trying to achieve and identifying the right tools and the right partners to implement. And in the end, if the ROI isn't there for any particular solution, we don't move forward with it. This isn't about technology for technology's sake. You've heard me say that before. This is about value. If you don't know what value you're going to get out of the investment, you don't invest in it. And anybody who recommends you should and just figure it out as you go is not somebody you should be partnered with. Okay. Okay, I like this question. What are the first 2 or 3 things I should do if I want to move forward? Well, first and foremost, book a strategy session with us. We'll help you identify where AI could support your project and your business goals. Then the next thing you do is align your internal stakeholders and start socializing the vision, socializing AI. There's going to be a lot of fear. There's going to be a lot of trepidation. So communication transparent communication early is the key. You don't have to implement everything now, but don't wait for implementation to start beginning alignment internally. The earlier, the better. Start the conversation first with us, then with your team. Great question. Okay. Let's see. We're at 45 minutes. I think I can take a couple more questions. Can this work for existing buildings, or is it only for new development? It's for both. While AI is easiest to embed during the design and construction, it's also true that many of the highest impact applications like operational intelligence or personalized experiences can be layered into existing assets through smart retrofits, digital twins, or behavioral analytics. You don't need a clean slate. You just need a clear mindset and a plan, a smart plan. All right, last question. Do you actually implement the technology or just advise? Well, we lead with strategy and design, but we stay involved throughout the entire life cycle through delivery and even manage support services on the back end. We coordinate with not only the owners, the architects and the contractors and the technology partners that we bring in to ensure everything aligns with the plan. Think of us as your technology owner's rep and GC. So all of your IT, your AI, your IoT, everything that touches the network, including the network itself, we will take on that responsibility for you as your owner's rep and as your GC, your project partner from first sketch to final commissioning. Okay, those are all the questions I can take today. Not doing too bad on time. And we're ready to close. But before we do so, I just want to say thank you for spending this time with us today. Whether you're leading in development, designing for the future, or currently operating assets day to day, the fact that you showed up to this conversation tells me that you're thinking ahead, and that matters. My name is Ken Wilkinson, founder and managing partner of Layer 10. And if today sparks something for you, if you're curious about applying these ideas to a specific project or an entire portfolio, let's keep the conversation going. You can find more about our work at layer10.com or email me directly. I'm also quite active on LinkedIn, somewhat less so on Instagram and YouTube, but I'm working on it. Just search for Layer 10 or my name and you'll find us. We're on Facebook too, not on TikTok yet. And if you're ready to explore how AI can give you a real edge, scan the QR code, follow the link, book a one-on-one session. It's a quick, no pressure call to look at your goals and see how this framework fits. AI isn't coming someday. It's already here. And those who move early will define the standard everyone else follows. If you're ready to be one of them, it would be our honor to work with you. Thanks again for being here. Until next time, stay blessed and let's build smarter together.